We're connected with the 60s. So the most important thing that happened in the 60s in many ways, obviously it was great photography and all that, but what was the Beatles? Also an incredible look, actually a very mod look, particularly in the early days, very sharp suits, the hair was all very mod influenced. So we do some very simple, we obviously like to give it added value, so you know, we'll do like an iconic kind of print, this kind of layered Polaroid kind of look. These really pop colours give it that kind of 60s feel, which is great. Back in the 60s, obviously I wasn't there, I'm way too young for that. I just look older. But no, from what I can see, you know, Carnaby Street was, you agree of course. I look 52, but I'm not actually, I'm 21. So of course, the 60s was an amazing time. Carnaby Street was the place to be, and interestingly, it's come back. I'd say 10 years ago, no one was really going to Carnaby Street, and now Carnaby Street is the place with all the great stores again. Back in the 60s, that was the place to be seen. It was King's Road, it was Carnaby Street. And of course, that whole mod beatnik look had become, by the mid-60s, a little bit more mainstream. And I mean, we have to remember, in the 60s, it was the first time. There'd been the war, then there was post-war 50s. The 60s was the first era, decade, sorry, when people were going, let's have fun. And there was the whole sexual revolution. And, you know, actually, if you were a clothing brand that was big and popular around that time, you epitomised that. So Ben Sherman, again, was connected with the swinging 60s. You know, that's what you wore, and it wasn't only that. It was the shoes and the narrow trousers and that whole look. Here's the classic Ben Sherman, three-finger button-down shirt with the classic button on the back, the box pleat, and then we just drop in the Beatles print. This is pop culture, fashion, music, clothing, all in one garment. In terms of subcultures, I don't think you can aim at those things. We're constantly challenging the values of what we have, but we'll always have a hint and a nod to the past. In where ska and Britpop has kind of faded away, the mod look and mod culture has seemed to remain very, very strong. Mod culture is about looking good being the most important thing. Music, how you look, are the two most important things. Mods loved it. They spent a lot of time on their hair and every detail and looking sharp, and they really cared about that. And that's kind of, not necessarily the look, but the philosophy is what we try and carry forward, because that still remains relevant today. It all started back when Ben Sherman himself went over to America. He went over there, and I think he just came back, he spotted this shirt, which was the button-down shirt. And the reason the shirt has a button-down on it is originally it was because of the polo players. And the polo players, the collars used to flip up in the wind. So they put buttons on them. And I don't know why Ben Sherman thought this was interesting, but to him this was a beautiful shirt. And of course we know it is now, but I think he had the vision to kind of see something in that. So he came back and simply started making those shirts. They call it the three-finger collar, so you measure it by putting 3 fingers into the collar, and if it had 3 fingers fit perfectly, that's a Ben Sherman shirt. Obviously, if you've got really fat fingers or really thin ones, it's not going to work, but the average 3 fingers. Can't, as they say, the rest is history.